Sunday, February 26th, 2017. Damn, yesterday was tough. You could call it an ego crisis, full-on ego crisis. She was fighting for her life. It's so tough because I'm still so ego-identified, but I feel like I'm awakening to the possibilities of my true self. But then my ego latches onto that as a way to relieve her suffering. I want spiritual evolution, but realizing that that isn't, sorry. I want spiritual evolution, but realizing that that isn't me that wants it, that it's still my ego in control of everything, that was heartbreaking. To realize that all this work that I've been doing isn't real, that what I've been doing is actually just making my ego stronger. It was so demoralizing that I don't even really have words for it. I felt myself spiraling downwards, sinking into hopelessness. And then I realized that they were right. Everything that I've read and heard about letting go, of seizing the struggle, of stopping the fighting, the striving, this is what they were talking about. I've been pushing and pushing, trying to make evolution happen, all the while staying in my little safe bubble, not living my life, still not living, and still lying to myself. I kept reading the words and telling myself that I was internalizing them, the words that said this has to be experiential, that this has to be lived, not just learned about. But I continued to focus on the learning, telling myself I'd get to the experiencing later. Wow, how strong are delusions. Anyway, it all came crumbling down. The truth was out, and I could no longer deny it. I could no longer deny that it's been my ego this whole time, orchestrating everything. And so I sent a plea to my true self, a prayer, knowing full well that it was my ego talking, and accepting that. Accepting that that was the truth, and it was okay because that was where I was, and there wasn't any place else that I could be at that moment. I pled to myself, with a capital S, to take over. I told her that I was giving up, that she knew better than I, and that I wanted her to take over. I told her I wasn't going to fight it anymore. I wasn't going to keep striving. I told her that I surrender. I bawled my eyes out, knowing full well that it was my ego self doing it. It was cathartic. And now I'm bewildered. I don't really know where to go from here. It felt really good to have such a strong sense of purpose, and I guess the purpose is still accurate. My ego self, just won't be working toward it. I guess all that's left for me to do is just live and trust that life will bring me what I need to get the work done. Sorry, there was a little exercise. I don't think I'm going to read that. Monday, March 6th, 2017. I've been out of touch for a little while. It seems as though I only really make time for my spiritual practice on the weekends, and I had the climate reality leadership training this weekend. And that's really not working for me. I end up spending all weekend in my spiritual studies and not out living and having fun and doing things that I love to do. I enjoy my spiritual studies. I'm learning, and it is really fulfilling, but I'm not living fully. None of this studying is going to do me any good if I don't live it. Not to mention that it's all ego-driven. It really makes my ego feel like we are making progress, like we are growing. But it's safe because she's not at risk when I'm just studying, acquiring, collecting knowledge. My ego is only at risk when I'm actually practicing and experiencing. I realized recently how incredibly ego-identified I am. That was a really tough pill to swallow. In fact, I had a little mini crisis over it. But now I think I've moved into acceptance, and now I can move forward with more awareness. I think this life is meant to teach me balance. I tend to swing to extremes. I seem to be an all or nothing kind of person, and that's not really working for me. The only way that any of the spiritual knowledge that I've acquired will have any real effect is if I live it. And that means on a regular basis, not just all jammed into my weekend time. That means constantly, every day, here and there. It needs to be a part of my daily life, and I think that comes through awareness. Saturday, March 11th, 2017. I feel depleted this morning, drained, dull, like my life force is, well, depleted. I can't really think of a better word for it. My energy is low. I don't feel motivated to get up and start my day. I don't feel good in my body. I think part of it is that I might be dehydrated. I lost a lot of fluids through tears and snot last night. Well, I made myself get up and jump on my mini trampoline. It's been a part of my morning routine and really helps wake me up. And I feel much better now. Oh, and I drank a bunch of water and stretched my body out a bit. I'm still feeling very emotional though, weepy, like I have holes in me and I'm just dripping. I feel fragile, breakable. The tiniest thought makes my eyes well up, and I'm having a hard time holding myself together. Last night, my loneliness was all-consuming. It was almost too much to bear at times. I tried to just sit with it, but it overtook me. There were moments when it pulled me under. I'm not sure what is going on, if it's something hormonal or circumstantial or what. Alan has been on my mind a lot lately. Last weekend I ran into a friend and she asked if I was going camping with Aaron and the guys. Apparently Aaron will be in town this weekend, and she didn't say anything about Heather. Anyway, I told her no, that I don't get invited to stuff like that anymore because of Alan. Anyway, there was that, and then also Alan's probation will be ending soon, I think at the beginning of April, and then also his birthday is April 6th. So yeah, he's been on my mind. In fact, on Wednesday night when I was leaving our Longmont Protectors meeting, I seriously considered driving by his house because I was in the area. I haven't thought about doing that in a long time, probably a year or so. Just to note, I never have actually driven... Excuse me. And this is funny, this is something that I actually wrote. Just to note, I never have actually driven by his house. I just want to make that clear. And this is me adding in a side note right here. I don't know why I would have written something like that, because maybe it was just a reminder to myself when I came back that it was, I don't know, maybe my ego felt like I needed to say that clearly, that because I was embarrassed about how often I thought about doing things like that, driving by his house or whatever. But I just, for some reason, felt the need to make a note that I had never actually done it. Anyway, so continuing on. I used to think about doing it a lot, and now I've been thinking about him lately, wondering whether I am going to see him once his probation is up and the restraining orders are dropped. Oh shit, I just remembered there's the permanent protection order that I got added on. I think with that one, it takes 4 years before he can appeal to have it lifted. Wow, I completely forgot about that. He still won't be able to contact me even after his probation is up. Why do I feel disappointed about that? Because I'm so fucking lonely, but I also loved him intensely, and there is a part of me that misses a part of him. I had a bit of a breakdown last night, wondering if I was at fault for what happened between us. I know that the way that he treated me in the end wasn't okay, but I started wondering if my actions caused it. I just wanted to explore what part I played. It took a while and a lot of anguish to trace it back, but I finally realized that it all started with the way Alan tried to make me feel guilty or like I was doing something wrong when we first moved in together and I wasn't meeting his expectations for how often we were having sex. It turned into a vicious cycle from there because the more he hounded me about it, the less I wanted to have sex with him and the more I withdrew. I think part of my emotionality and how intensely lonely I was feeling last night also had to do with finding out that Aaron would be in town and knowing that I wouldn't be invited. I still have a lot of unresolved hurt over feeling abandoned by my friends in the aftermath of Alan and I. It still really hurts a lot, I think mostly because I don't understand what happened. It really makes me feel like there is something wrong with me that they would choose Alan over me. That hurts maybe more than the dissolution of my relationship with Alan. I've never been that good at friendships. I guess I don't understand why. What is it about me that makes me so socially awkward? People scare me. I have a hard time trusting people for this very reason, and maybe I'm too serious. I'm not good at having fun. I don't know, but it sucks royally, and it really kills my self-esteem. I feel immobilized. I don't know what to do to change my circumstances. It's really hard to live like this, so alone. And I feel like it's my fault and that there should be something that I should do to change it, but I don't know what that is. Is it a character flaw or is it just circumstantial? I have an isolating job and I live out in the country, which is prohibitive to meeting people. God, I'm fucking over it. I'll keep going a little further. Saturday, March 18th, 2017. I was flipping back through my journal and came across a question, something I had been puzzling over. The question was whether it was my ego or my true self that wants to grow. I've always felt this pull to growth, this desire to evolve. But since learning about my ego and becoming more aware of its role in my life, I realized that, at least lately, my ego has been playing a role in this search and desire for upward momentum. My ego believes that spiritual growth will ease its suffering. It makes itself feel good by thinking it is spiritual. I've definitely experienced that. All those weekends where I spent hours upon hours reading and writing spiritual stuff, not doing anything else. It was on the verge of obsessive. That was definitely my ego trying to fill holes. But I read back through that entry on February 24th and I got sucked down into a dark place. You could just see the downward spiral as the entry continued into despair. But then look what happened at the end. Surrender. And the next several entries explored this theme of finally realizing that my ego was using my spirituality as a means to make itself feel better. And then the resulting despair following that realization that what I had been striving so hard at and putting so much time into wasn't going to save me. And then there has been this theme of letting go, of surrender, and with it has come some ease. Yes, all the bullshit with Alan hurt like hell. Yes, it left its marks. But I gave myself the time to work through it, and I honestly feel that I am more in touch with my true self because of it. I was strong enough to handle it. It didn't break me. It made me more me. Yes, losing all of my friends in the process was a huge kick to the ego. Yes, it intensified all of my feelings of worthlessness, but I was strong enough to handle it. And in all likelihood, a lot of that probably didn't really have anything to do with me. People's own egos and their own lives get in the way of being what you want them to be. And that was the big lesson that I think I needed to learn in that. I needed to be there for myself. Had I had those friends there to support me, I would have leaned on them. I would have relied on them in order to make myself feel better. I would have used them. Instead, I had to figure it out for myself. And I got a really good lesson on what loneliness feels like. And I think I am a stronger and more compassionate because of it. And then it all goes back to the original wound. And I had a big dose of realization last night in the shower. I seem to keep having these big epiphany moments in the shower, high and immersed in candlelight. Maybe it's something about the darkness that forces my thoughts inwards, or being high brings more clarity. I don't know, but it keeps happening. Anyway, my thoughts turned toward Dad, and memories came flooding into my awareness. Not just abstract thoughts about what happened, but actual memories of the events. Memories of the things that I witnessed him do. And really, for what felt like the first time ever, I truly saw how horrible the things that he did were. How cruel he was to Nathan. I let myself truly acknowledge how bad it was to experience those things, and I felt like I was finally realizing how strong I was and am to have been able to come out of that darkness with my values intact. How strong I was for not giving in and laughing at Nathan like Dad was yelling at us to do while he was humiliating my brother. I feel like I ought to clarify that a little bit. Yeah, there were a few instances when I was a kid where, and if you listen to the backstory or have been following along with these, my father was abusive when I was a kid, and my brother got the worst of it. And there were a couple of instances where my dad would he would do something to humiliate my brother. One time it was making my brother wear a diaper, and he was like, we were like 6 or 7 or 8, much older than was needed for wearing a diaper. But he made my brother wear a diaper because he had been wetting the bed. He'd been wetting the bed because he was so terrified the whole time that we were there visiting my dad for the summer. He didn't do it when we were at my mom's house. But yeah, so he'd been having problems with wetting the bed at night. And so my dad made him wear a diaper, not to bed, but just like around the house, like during the day. And there was that time, and then another time my dad, my brother had been, quote unquote, whining or crying about something. He was a kid and was whining about something, and my dad was like humiliating him and calling him a pussy, and made me go to the closet and pick out one of my dresses, and made my brother put it on and wear it around the house. And I forget which time it was, whether it was like the diaper incident or the dress incident, but one of those times, my dad was making my brother like march around the living room wearing the dress or the diaper or whatever, and was encouraging me and my little half sister to point and laugh at my brother. He was telling us to laugh at him. He was trying to get us to join in on humiliating my brother. So that's what I was talking about here. I felt like I was finally realizing how strong I was and am to have been able to come out of that darkness with my values intact. How strong I was for not giving in and laughing at Nathan like Dad was yelling at us to do while he was humiliating my brother. How strong I was for making the choice to leave Arkansas when I was a teenager. How strong I have been for not caving to Dad's manipulation, to him scapegoating me when I called him out on the things he did. I stayed true to me, and that was incredibly courageous, and I haven't always given myself credit for that. But the other part of this realization was that I have still been letting this person have a voice in defining my worth. I have allowed this person, I'm talking about my dad, who was capable of such cruelty, to tell me that I am not good enough. I realized how ridiculous it is to let someone like that tell me, figuratively, how I should feel about myself. His opinion of me, or more accurately, my perception of his opinion of me based on his actions, should have no weight with me at all. I don't value his opinion. I don't trust him. I don't think that he is a good person, and I don't want anything to do with him. So I will no longer let him have any amount of influence on how I see myself. Whether he loves me or not has nothing whatsoever to do with my own worth. I have let his ghost shape me for far too long, and I am done. I choose to be free of him. I choose to love myself because I am worthy of love. And I choose to let others love me and see the real me because I am worthy of being seen. I am worthy of the love of other people, and I choose to give my love freely because I am strong enough to love without a return. And I have so much love inside of me to give. May that be the gift I give to this world. I feel like that's a good place to stop. Thank you for listening. I appreciate your support. And if you find anything of value from any of this, I hope that you do. And I would love to hear from you if that's the case. I'm not doing this to just share my story out into the world. I'm hoping that bits of what I have to say and what I have to share about my own journey might spark insights for you guys out there, or at least might make you feel like you're not so alone, if there's stuff that you resonate with in here. So anyway, I want to send you guys love, and I will be back with the next reading. Okay, be well.